Hi, we're going to start on the Hebrew Alef-Bet, and this week we're in the letter Pei. So we're on this last group of letters. We've done Alef-Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Kuf, which has a final, Lamed, Mem, which has a final, Nun, which has a final, Samech, Ayin, and now we're on Pei, which also has a final. Pei is one of those double letters. It's also Fe. So with a dagesh, with a dot in it, it's a P, and without the dagesh, it's a F. Added to that, it also has a final form. And so this is, if it's at the end of the word, a P at the end of the word, and a F at the end of the word. Very seldom do you see a Pei at the end of the word Pei Sufit, but you do see Fe Sufit sometimes. So Pei is the 17th letter of the Hebrew Alef-Bet out of the 22. Like I said, it comes in these double forms, the Pei and the Fe, and also with this Sufit form. Its numerical value is 80, and Pei, the actual name of the letter, because this is the P is a letter, but the Pei means the actual word, means mouth, and it's quite a nice one. What does it look like? Well, usually it's written just like that, without, sometimes with and sometimes without the dot. It's said to have this hidden bet in it. And I'm going to mention that now, although it's a part of other letters as well. In the Torah, it's not just the black letters on the white background that actually count. It's also the space in between, the white space. And we talk about the black fire on white fire, but we also recognize that in some letters, there are other letters hidden inside them. And so here's a bet in white, and if you reverse the pen and the bet round, it's in black. And some people talk about the Torah being black letters on white letters, or black fire on white fire, and the Talmud, the sort of huge commentary on the Torah, being white fire on black fire. And so there's also the space between the letters, which is something I haven't mentioned before because there's so much to mention about Hebrew Alef-Bet. But it's something to bear in mind when you're looking at the shapes of letters. Last time we were talking about ayin with the two eyes looking out at you, and yod and stuff, but they also talk about different letters hidden inside letters. Hey comes not only as bet hidden inside it, but they're in the same class of letters, how they make their sounds. H and B both use the lips to make that sound. P, B. So they're in with the V and the M, the lips. As I've said, in the Sefer Yetzirah, this very ancient book, they talk about how you make the breath of life into the sound of words, and that's, or letters, and that's how that's done in all these parts of your speech apparatus and airwaves, so that when you're taking your breath in, the breath of life, you can just blow it out, but you can also make sounds with it by manipulating these sorts of almost instruments of your body. So Pei, as I said, has this hidden bet in it, and in modern Hebrew, it's written just as a curled up. It's as if this has gone upside down to the other side of it. Pei and Fe. Fe Sufit is quite a strange one. It's so that it doesn't look like some other letters at the end. So it's got a very funny version when it's written. Not only does it have this bet inside it, but it actually looks a bit like a kaf itself with a yod hanging down. And so it's said to be this kaf shape with this yod, the 10th letter, the y sound inside it. For some people, they make not just the bet being inside it, but they make something of this yod because it's the first letter of a tetragrammaton, yud hey vav hey. So it's this highest version of your soul, sort of thing. So they say it represents a spiritual spark of the higher soul, the neshama soul. I've talked about the different levels of soul, where you have ones which come down, the neshama being the higher one, ruach being a bit lower than that, the breath, the air, the life. And then you have nefesh, which is your sort of the body, that the part that the animal soul that innovates your body. And so this represents something about a higher soul that's contained in the physical body. And that's true of us. We all think that we've got this higher spiritual side to us that is contained within our bodies. And when our bodies die, this higher physical side, higher spiritual side is immortal. It's the bit of us that's immortal. With words and silence, we can communicate the essence of our soul. It's the bit, that we're trying to communicate when we're trying to have a spiritual life. And the pay represents some of this, that because it's about what we say out into the world, we should make it match with what's inside of us, matching out our inner and outer life. We often don't. We do things because we want to be liked, or what we think will be acceptable to the group we're in. We're not always our authentic self. And perhaps that's good. It's called being social. You don't want to be a sort of sociopath that doesn't get on with anybody else, that is totally themselves all the time. But sometimes we can have a mismatch of values, and that's a big, big problem. We say one thing and we think completely differently. And that's very scary. Don't say one thing with the mouth and another with the heart. You're trying to match up your values, and this contained yod should match up a little bit with what it's contained in. The letter pei comes after the ayin. We did ayin last time. Ayin was the eyes, and so the eyes that look out and see and observe the universe and see what's going on. And the pei is this mouth that starts to express what the eye has seen. So this is also another idea around the pei. There are lots of words around pei. Of course, pei itself, mouth, and paro. In Hebrew it's paro, not pharaoh. And paro starts with this p sound, and a lot of words petuch, to open. Lots of things about, we have a prayer, open your hands, we say every day, and it's petuch, to open things up. Prayer, funnily enough, is also from a root word with a pei. We call it tefillah, so the p becomes a f, tefillah. But it's from a root actually of p lamed lamed. It's Hebrew has three letters, three consonants in its most of the root words. It's called a shurish, and it's for this one, this is a reflexive version of this. And so prayer, because it's grammatically reflexive, prayer from this root, palal, actually means self-judgment. You're praying, you're judging yourself when you pray. You're sort of almost praying to yourself. It's different to blessings. In Hebrew, we say a lot of blessings. You're meant to say about 100 a day, blessings to God, thanking God for everything that you consume or do or see. But prayer is the bit where you're asking for something. And it's an interesting flip that the grammar for it's not just palal, it's this reflexive, executing judgment on you. Other words with pe in it or fer in it, sefer, and sepharim, this is a plural, sefer, very, very common book, Sefer Torah, the book of the Torah. Sefer means book. So it's got the f in it. So wing, like a department of a building or something, has this final fe in it, agef, and a wing of a bird, canif, is has the f at the end. So you won't tend to see words with p at the end with the final version, but you will see with f at the end. The gematria of pe it's the 17th letter, but it has a gematria of 80. Its final form is very, very rarely used as a number. Its final form, this final pe, this final version isn't used to count with usually. It represents 800, but usually people just use tav twice. Tav represents 400. It's just one of those things that people tend to do 2 400s rather than 800. According to the sages, the number 80 represents strength. Therefore, someone with pe in their name, who is very verbal with a gentle soul, we hope that the neshama is always gentle, but the mouth maybe is strong, what it says. They maybe are people, the strength of your mouth maybe are people that we say things that we feel and we don't always control what comes out of our mouths and might regret it. And there's a lot of work in Hebrew about lashon hara, the bad speech, because most wars and most terrible things happen because of the bad speech. So the pe, this mouth that is open, can be a dangerous place as well. It can express wonderful feelings of the heart and be this strong strength of feeling, but it can also get carried away and say things that are not so good. God told Moses that he was going to be Moses's mouthpiece. Moses had a stutter, we think. He says in the Torah that he can't speak very well. He's got, there's a whole story about burning his mouth. And God says it's okay when you go into Egypt and tell the Pharaoh, Paro, to let my people go. I will be your mouthpiece. The words will come out. Don't worry. Anochi echye im picha. I'm going to be your mouthpiece. Your mouthpiece. Interestingly, people pull this sentence apart and they say Anochi has a gematria of 81, because p itself is 80, but Anochi, this very high version of I, the sort of I that is not the ego I, it's the spiritual I. It has one more. It's 81, not just 80. So your mouth is going to have this power of speech that is transcended into this higher Anochi version. So people like to play with this. There's also the idea of a holiday that comes up in a couple of months' time. We're doing Purim, and then it's Pesach, which is a really important festival. It's about the liberation from Egypt. Let my people go. And there's a whole story, obviously, about Pesach, because Pesach is starting with a p, and Pesach, the mouth that talks. And so Moses is a person that has to speak to Pharaoh, and here he is in this festival of Pesach, which we always take to mean the passing over, that the angel of death passes over the house of the Israelites. But the Hebrew word Pesach can also be pulled apart to mean the mouth, Pesach. On Pesach, the mouth talks about the wonders and miracles of God. We do a lot of whole Seder service around telling about these miracles. And Pharaoh, he's the opposite of Pesach, the mouth of the good mouth that speaks of this, I will be your mouthpiece. Pharaoh, ra, can mean bad mouth. Ra means bad. And here we go with pe, mouth, ra, bad. Pharaoh was someone who denied that God existed in every act of nature. He thought he was God, and he had his magicians doing tricks, but he had he said, "This is, I do not know this God," as in, if I don't know him, he doesn't exist, sort of thing. So it's a very interesting idea, the bad mouth in front of this God who's going to be the mouthpiece for Moses, and we're going to celebrate Pesach, the mouth that talks. So these all get tied up together. Finally, Pei and Fei, the two versions of it. This has with or without the dagesh. It's the dagesh, not the sofit, that makes it a double letter. It's the perfa that makes it a double letter. It's 5 of the 7 double letters that are in Hebrew. We did ones like bet, which has without the dot is v, v. So this is perfa without the dot, with or without the dot. And there's 7 of them. And of course, therefore, the 7 days of the week. So the double letters get assigned days of the week. In creation, because each letter of the Alef-Bet and each of the 10 Sephirot are given a sentence in creation to have the 32 sentences that are part of creation, that God speaks the world into being. And we say that these letters speak the world into being, these holy letters. So in creation, it goes with the sentence, God saw that it was good. It's connected to a place in the world's space. It's connected to the planet Venus. I'm not sure how the Sefer Yetzirah has come up with that. Wednesday in the week or in the year, you have these letters assigned to different days of the week, and Peh is usually assigned to Wednesday, and also a place on the body. So you've got space and time, and also nefesh, your body soul part, and it's the left nostril that it's assigned to. And so this Peh comes up with sentence 21 of all these 32 sentences that are part of the creation story. They are the words that God speaks creation into being. And this is 21. God saw that it was good, Peh, and this double letter, the 5th one of the double letters. And so I thought we'd end with a meditation, and that would be a nice moment to end with. And I thought we should end with something about speaking sound into being. And so what sorry, I'm trying to pin myself, but I haven't managed to do that. We'll end with a moment of meditation just to speak this sound into being. And if you want to just close your eyes for a moment and just take a couple of deep breaths without sound. You're not making any sound with those breaths. They're just filling you with life, which is this wonderful gift, as if God is breathing that breath of life into you. And you're recycling it into the universe silently. And we're changing when we think about it. We're taking this breath of life, this air, and we're making it into sound, into speech. That's a remarkable thing that humans do, created in the image and likeness of God. And here we are, speaking worlds into being, just like God speaks worlds into being. We speak worlds into being. And that's why we're so worried about Lashon Hara, speaking badly. The effects are huge. There's a story about somebody who badmouths a rabbi and then goes and apologizes and said, I was wrong what I said. How can I make amends? And the rabbi says, take a pillow and cut it open and let all the feathers float off in the wind. In that air. And then the man does that and says, comes back and says, I've done that. I said, and now go and collect all those feathers. Once you've put the word out into the world, you can't take it back again. You can't take your breath back. It's gone out. And you can't take back the sound that you make. Once you've created that sound, it's gone out there. So we need to be very careful with what we say. And think for a moment about those wonderful things you say and those terrible things you wish you hadn't said.